Thanks for tuning in to Happy Science New York podcast with Yushi and Mariko. Hey everyone, welcome back to our New York Temple video podcast. I'm Mariko and I'm here with
Yushi.
Yes, and we are here to talk to you about healing at Happy Science as our fourth episode. So, healing is a very big topic.
Huge.
In religion, in our daily lives.
In Happy Science.
Lots of miracles have been happening with the members here. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yep.
And we also want to talk to you briefly about the mechanisms of healing and how Happy Science has helped so many people around the world with its teachings. So, as a first question, let's talk a little bit about how illnesses occur.
Yeah. So, in Happy Science, Master has taught us so many variety of teachings about healing and the causes of illness. But what comes to the top of my head right now is obviously the creative power of the mind. So, like, our mind, like, whether you believe it or not, whether you accept it or not, it's a universal truth that our mind is always creating.
Right.
It's got a creative energy.
Yes.
And how does it work? It's so simple. If you have a positive mindset, it manifests positive things. If you have a negative mindset, it manifests negative things. And that, of course, appears into your health. So one reason of why illnesses occurs is because of your negative mindset.
Right. We always have to think about not only are we attracting energy, but we're emitting energy, right? So it's a kind of two-way thing.
Yep.
So it manifests.
Yep.
So if we're thinking negatively, it'll attract all this negative thing and then fester in our bodies and create like a mass.
Yep. And over time, it materializes. Such as illnesses.
It's a very scary thing, and I feel people are not so aware of their daily thoughts. And maybe that's one of the biggest problems. People just think thoughts are fleeting and that they can't control their minds.
Right.
They can't control their thoughts. People with attachments, for example, they can't stop thinking about the same thing over and over. We can think about revenge or things like that. Those are like dark thoughts. So what's so important that we should share about how to control the mind, and what's the principles of the mind?
Well, how to control the mind? I would say, obviously, I guess there's a couple steps, but one, studying the truth written by Master Ryuho Okawa, because that's like a guideline to know what is a correct mind, right? If you don't have a study material, you can't think right. So you have to have those study materials, right? So like you have to first study and gain the understanding of what's the right way to think. And then after gaining that knowledge, you have to apply it. And this applying part is so important. It's the process of self-reflection. We're going to be talking about this in a different episode, but you have to reflect on the way you lived, the thoughts you had, the words you said, the way you lived, or the actions that you made, and you have to reflect it towards the truth. And then see what was wrong. And then once you notice that, that is when your mind is corrected. And then, hence, the mind has a creative energy. If it's corrected, your illness then heals.
Right. So maybe we could give some examples how illnesses create illness, how our mind creates illness. Like a concrete example.
I see. So like one example that Master has taught us before is like where the disease comes out in your body. So let's use an example of a skin disease. So if you look at the skin, what's the function of a skin on a human physical body? It's the separation of the inner part of your body from the outer part of your body, right? So it's a borderline of your inner and the outer. Symbolically, what does this mean? It means that it's a human relationship, human border. So let's say that you have a bad human relationship issue. That, if that's like harbored for a long enough time, that manifests as an illness on your skin.
So you separate yourself and others, like you're uncomfortable with a certain person, or maybe you want to you just, I guess, uncomfortable around like a lot of people. You want to keep to yourself, perhaps. Is that what how it works?
That's one. Also, if you have grudge towards others, or let's say that you're feeling a guilt because of someone, or if you're unforgiving, if you have an unforgiving thought towards someone, like if the cause is a human relationship, and if you have a negative mindset from that human relationship, that can appear over time as an illness on your skin.
Yeah, we also did an episode on the Fox TV series that we had, Invitation to Happiness, about illness and karma. And we'll talk a little bit more about karma in a different episode. But the question I ask people on the streets is, do you believe that illness can be caused by karma? And a lot of people would immediately tell me, no, it's not a punishment. Or it's not fair, it's random.
I see.
So it's a really, people, it's such a touchy subject.
It is, yeah.
And I think as hard as it sounds, like the spirit of self-responsibility is key here. But there's another really key aspect, because when we have too much self-responsibility, sometimes we become even more worried. Like, what are we doing that's wrong?
That's right.
Where did I do this? And, I was only trying to do the right thing. So in a way, we kind of have to reassess and just let go.
That's right.
Next, I wanted to ask, what are some mindsets that will help us begin the healing process?
So like I said earlier, how gaining the correct knowledge of the truth and also reflecting on yourself upon that truth is one way to correct it, get a right mindset to heal. But actually, before that, and more importantly, the aspect of faith is crucial when you would like to heal your illness. Now, I think faith has two aspects. One, believing in the God, believing in the Lord, believing in the Buddha, believing in Alcantara. Because that makes your, mindset positive. From whatever negativity you're in from, it will go positive. Let's say that you're worrying about something. If you have Alcantara faith, or if you have belief in God, you know that you're invincible with these faith, by being one with the Lord. So all worry will vanish. Let's say that you have animosity. The more you believe in the Lord, the more loving you'll become, and eventually you'll be able to forgive, right? So it's it's a remedy for any kind of negative mindset.
It's like a realignment.
Exactly. Right, yeah. Faith will keep you on the right track. So that's the first aspect of faith. And then the second aspect of faith is acceptance. You see, when we first get ill, of course, we don't want to acknowledge that truth. It hurts too much. The more you know the truth, it may hurt, because we know that our mind is creating that illness. It hurts to accept it, right? But the first stage, the first leap is acceptance. Just accept that this was caused not for a punishment, as you said earlier. It's not a punishment, they're right. But it's actually a lesson to be learned, a gift in disguise that was given from God. And once you can truly accept that from the bottom of your heart, or from the bottom of your soul, that's when the healing process begins. It's like a paradox. Interesting. Once you accept that you're ill, you start healing.
That's true. And I recently watched a testimonial of a Happy Science member who overcame breast cancer. And it's a really beautiful testimonial. And she had stage 4 terminal cancer that was spreading. It was too late for surgery.
Oh, wow.
And somehow she, with her faith, she overcame this and it disappeared. And it goes into detail about how the moment she believes, it starts to disappear, but the moment she starts to doubt, it starts to grow. And it's really miraculous how it's so instant. And we don't see that. We don't have X-ray vision. We can't see exactly what's going on. But if we did have spiritual vision or X-ray vision, we can see the growing, the festering of negative thoughts equaling negative, body cells.
That's right.
So it's really amazing. And no matter what the doctor tells you or whatever treatments you have, sometimes, illnesses come back, right?
Yeah.
So it always starts from the mind.
Yes.
It always starts fundamentally with something that you're not thinking correctly or in the light of God.
That's right.
You're not looking towards God.
That's right.
And as soon as you do, you start to be under that light and be able to accept that light. And, we talk a lot about faith at Happy Science. And in that testimonial, it says, basically, she says, there's no such thing as 99% faith. It's either you have it or you don't. And some people are quite, they're like, I have faith. What are you talking about? And it still happened to me, and I think this is something that people really need. At the end of the day, that's the question. How much do you believe God? This is a whole test of how much you can believe God. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons why we're here on Earth. And unless you encounter that and face it head on, then something might happen. Or, there's many encountering through human relationships, through illness, through successes and failures. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to, what do you believe and how much do you believe?
That's right.
So yeah, we really want people to increase their faith. And there are many ways at Happy Science to increase faith. As you said, one is through studying the teachings, right? And how about other things that we offer here?
Well, in Happy Science, I think in a way it's very, very powerful way to strengthen your faith is taking a ritual prayer, or what we call kigans. So Happy Science members, I'm sure you're all aware of what a kigan is, but it's like it comes from a Japanese Shinto background, and it's where a member writes their own wish on like a kigan form or a ritual prayer form, and then the priest conducts a prayer for them. And what's so powerful about the kigan in the contents of increasing your faith is that you're putting your faith into action in a visible form. And why do I say it's important? One, it's acknowledgement that you have faith, you are accepting, you are believing, it's put into action. And the other spiritual aspect is that the heavenly angels or high spirits or bodhisattvas, they are busy trying to help people, right? But let's say that you go through that process of a kigan, it's like this huge signal to the heavenly spiritual world that, oh, this person is calling for help in a correct mindset. So then they will come and help. So it's like, it's really increasing your faith because all of this is occurring in an invisible world. But you just believe, even if you can't see it. That's the virtue of faith. You accept whether you can see it or not. And that is the power, the fundamental power behind healing our illnesses and increasing the power of our faith.
Yeah, so, we've all experienced miracles in our lives.
God, so
and we've heard so many different miracles. And, it starts with just believing. People are like, I can't believe until I understand. And I understand that. I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
However, that's kind of the hurdle sometimes. Our brains have a limitation. It's really what we feel that's, I think more connected to faith. And that's a constant question in my mind. How do we keep deepening our faith? It's a mindset, and I think it will take a whole new episode on its own. But well, we wanted to share a little bit about faith and healing at Happy Science. And anything else you wanted to add?
Well, last thing to what you said, right? So like, believing is everything. It's so true, but so hard to do. For me, even though I've been in Happy Science for such a long time, it's like, I knew that, but because I was born in this 21st century through this educational system, academic world of like everything has to be tested and then proved in order to be truth, right? That's like the common sense that's going on in the world right now. But faith defies that, right? There is no way of proving. So that poisonous mindset has infiltrated inside my mind until a miracle occurred to myself. Like my leg was paralyzed. One time when I got like a high fever, I took this some kind of medicine the doctor gave me because I had the flu, but then I had allergies towards it. So I had this like rash on like the lower part of my body, and it wasn't like a normal rash. It was like lumpy all over my leg.
Oh my gosh!
It, like intense red colored, intense pain. And the pain was it was like a stinging pain, because when I went to doctor afterwards, he told me that because the rash was swollen so much, it was like pressuring my nervous system, so it was stinging my whole, lower part of my body.
Oh, wow.
But if I was laying down, it wouldn't hurt. But when I put my legs down, it would sting like crazy. So this happened to me when I was in LA, but one of the ministers in Orange County, she asked all the members to take a ritual prayer for me. And I didn't know anything about this. And they did this in Japan, in a monastery in Japan, Happy Science Temple in Japan. And that was around like 2 or 3 a.m. LA time. And, I woke up during the middle of the night. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to, just wake up a little bit, stand up, get some water or something. And then when I stood up, I went to go to the kitchen and then to the bathroom. I was like, wait, my leg doesn't hurt. But then the rash was still there. It was all lumpy and everything, but the pain was instantly gone. Usually it gradually fades away, right? But the moment right before I went to sleep, it was like 10 p.m. It still hurt so bad. Like in 4 or 5 hours later, instantly gone.
Wow.
And when this kind of an episode or like something happens to yourself, then I can really say that faith is the factor of healing. There's no, I guess from God's perspective, there's logic behind it. From a human perspective, the logic breaks.
Right.
But that breaking of the logic, acceptance of it, is faith.
Yeah.
And how did I get it? Going back to your question, I've always asked for pure faith. So if there are people out there who are still suffering from illnesses, even though they believe that they have faith and they have the correct mindset, one thing I can tell them is that all of our wishes are always being heard. And as long as you wish to have the correct faith or pure faith, it shall be given. So I just had to share that episode because I think it really relates with
thank you for sharing.
how to strengthen faith.
That's beautiful and very powerful. And it's also doable.
Yes.
Right? We can all ask
Yes.
for more faith. We can all ask and seek for more faith. And, there's nothing better than receiving or getting more faith, because faith in a way is about having confidence, sureness, conviction that because God, everything is possible.
That's right.
Basically. That's how I feel faith is. And that's the deciding factor, the main factor in healing. And so really, in a way, it's all up to you.
That's right.
Completely up to you. And, whatever the doctor may tell you, but at the same time, there's certain times in life where we just need to accept, and as you said earlier, accepting kind of is faith. Being like, no matter what happens, whether I live or die, I believe. That's all I needed in this world, in this life. So, I think that kind of
wraps it up.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching our episode on healing at Happy Science. We hope that what we shared with you today can enlighten your life and help you or other people in your life that you know on the process to healing. We are always praying for your happiness, health, and prosperity. Thank you again for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.
Thank
See you next time.